Many of us who use metadata in Adobe Bridge rely on the Keywords panel. Now, the Keywords panel is cool because it lets you define a taxonomy for the content that you can see. Maybe you've got some keywords that you share inside of the company, or maybe you build them on your own using the Bridge interface, and that's great. Except when you talk about enterprise metadata management, keywords can be a really dangerous thing. Because, maybe not dangerous, that's a little extreme, but it can certainly lead to clutter. Because, an end user can sit down and they can enter their own keywords, and that's fine for them, but those keywords are often not in the organizational structure that the enterprise needs to be able to index the vast quantity of content that's coming into the enterprise asset management system. So what can we do about that? In Adobe Bridge 2018, now known as Adobe Bridge CC, we have a new capability that's called custom keywords. Custom keywords is just like keywords, except it allows you to predefine what those keywords are going to be and the hierarchy. It also allows you to predefine the specific XMP namespace and property into which those keywords will be written. This is super cool, by the way. And these words may sound wacky to you, but if you talk to folks who do metadata management, this is a very exciting idea. Let's show you how it works. First, we start with an XML file. And I happen to have one here, or I'll have one in a moment. We're going to put it into this folder that's in a new place in Bridge, in the Bridge preferences. It's called Custom Keywords Panel. And you'll see that if you install Adobe Bridge CC. It also has a 2018 on it if you look at its file name. So where is it located? We'll back out. It's in the User, Library, Application Support, Adobe Bridge CC 2018 Custom Keywords Panel. That's where we're going to put this XML file. So let's take a look at the XML file itself. I've got one here, and it has a number of switches inside, and these things are quite powerful. We've built it so that it's very flexible for you, and it allows you to define what that data structure is going to be as it's coming into Bridge. It also tells Bridge how to read metadata that's coming in on those properties and to be able to display them appropriately. First thing we see at the top is Bridge version, going to give it a panel name, and this will appear as a panel when we install it. Some descriptive metadata, and then this is the thing that starts to get into the meat of it. Here is the namespace that I am going to address. So www.jameslockman.com/metadata.sample, that's the URI for the namespace, and I've given it a prefix of James example. You can see that right there. It's going to be writing data and writing data to and reading data from the property called keywords. So this is my own property. I've built this all by myself. I've defined this thing right here all by myself. It's not writing into the keywords that you would normally address with Bridge or with Photoshop or with any other Adobe application. That's living in the Dublin Core subject property. That's where that's going. But this is going to go someplace else. Now, we've got some instructions here that you can read at your leisure. Most important of these is that we do define the delimiter. Now, the delimiter for the hierarchy here, you see its hierarchy delimiter is defined there as a / in this case. That's great. But we're also defining and allowing you to define a first delimiter. So if this property exists right here, then it will write this between the first and second level in the hierarchy. This supports asset management systems that do depend on a separator, such as Adobe Experience Manager. And in Adobe Experience Manager, the way it treats properties that live inside of CQ tags is that the top level in the hierarchy is, they call it a namespace, and then under the namespace you have these hierarchical properties. So you can have multiple namespaces defined, and then each of those is a top level sort, and then underneath that you'd have the separator. So we're just telling Bridge right now we're expecting this first hierarchy delimiter, and true says yes, we're going to use it. Now when we get down, we've told Bridge what the panel should look like. How about the contents of the panel? So if we scroll down, you can see that we've defined a number of namespaces, or that namespaces in the AEM world, but just in general, I've got a top level collection that's called Things I Like, and inside of it I have a number of hierarchical items such as activity. Here are some activities that live underneath activity. I've got apparel. Here's some apparel that lives underneath apparel. And then here's some seasons. We probably need to add a couple of seasons, right? Because there's more than 2. Let's go and add them now. I'll just paste them in there. Now you'll notice another feature. So I need fall. All right. And I need to change this to fall. And the thing that I wanted you to notice is that I have a display value called name, and I have the value that we're reading and writing from the asset, which is over here called value. This allows you to have a descriptive human readable value for metadata that's often difficult to consume. Think about product numbers. Maybe you want to correlate the product number to something that a person can read. And this is a way that you can do that. So the menu that you see would have the descriptive, whatever the descriptive name will show, but it will actually be reading and writing those values. This is your key value pair for that. Oh, and we also need spring. And we'll put that in as well. And yes, I know these are out of order, but that's important. I'm leaving them out of order because what I want to show you is some features that we see over on the bridge side when we install it. So I've gotten this written. Have to make sure that it's properly opened and closed sets in the XML. Once it's done, we'll save it, and then we will install it. So to install it, it's pretty easy. All I've got to do is to take the XML file, which I have right here, and drop it into the custom keywords folder inside of Bridge. So now it's installed, and you say, well, I don't see anything special in Bridge yet. Well, we've got to load Bridge's window again. So if we close Bridge's window and we open a new window in Bridge, this will now load that panel. And I can expose it here. I can right click, and you'll see James's custom keywords panel. I also have it oh, not there. Sorry, I have it under Window, and you'll see it listed there, James's Custom Keywords panel. So there it's opened up. Let's drag it over here next to Keywords. Cool. So now I can start to apply these keywords to assets. And I recently took a trip to Walt Disney World with my family. Very nice place to go. Totally encourage you to go there because it's just, well, it's Disney. It's awesome. If I want to apply some custom metadata now to this asset, I can select it. I can say, you know what, this is some things I like while we were there. Oh, I don't see eating there. That doesn't matter. It was in the fall, so we'll stick that in there. All right, cool. We got that. Let's see. This one here, there are some hats. So I can say hat. There's also a poncho, and it was definitely in the fall, and so on. So you can see I'm applying multiple values, and once they're written to the asset, they show up right there. Well, how can I prove that it's written? Well, one of the ways that I can do that is by looking at file info, and then I can look at the raw data. So go down to the raw data, and you can see that I have my XML namespace is there, James example that we had said before. And if I scroll down to the bottom, you can see that written in there, there's my interests, right? It's in my keywords. James example is the prefix, keywords is the value, and we're good to go. Pretty cool. This is a great way for an enterprise to define a fixed taxonomy that they want to then deploy out to the enterprise. Of course, you've got to edit an XML file. And that on its own is okay. It's a lot easier than building the multiple panels that we had you do before for the file info panel. And by making this look like keywords, it becomes very easy for an end user to take advantage of this because the muscle memory is there. They know how to use keywords. This looks just like keywords. It should be easy to use. One of the things they can't do is manipulate it. So you notice there's no plus minus down here. I can't delete or change. I try to change it and right click, nothing happens. I can't change this taxonomy unless I edit the XML file. The expectation, of course, is that if I'm in the enterprise, I can propagate that XML file to all of my users. They now have access to this panel. In fact, they can have up to 10 writing to different properties and different namespaces. So you can have a lot of rich metadata exposed to the end user through this type of a panel. Now I'd like to take a quick turn over to Adobe Experience Manager. Now in Adobe Experience Manager, it manages metadata in the XMP stack, but it also includes a piece of metadata called tags. Now tags are how AEM, Adobe Experience Manager, organizes content. Customers take advantage of tags and they build taxonomy and so on using a tags manager in AEM, and it writes metadata into a namespace and property that we can address using this panel. Of course, big enterprises or even small enterprises will have a vast metadata stack, and it can be challenging to try and bring that from AEM into Bridge and write this panel. So what we've done to facilitate that is create a new extension for Bridge that is called the AEM Tags Panel for Bridge. The way to get it is to browse to the add-ons exchange, exchange.adobe.com, go to add-ons, products 2009, oh, sorry, 2009, that is the place you want to go. And then if you're logged in, you can then fetch it. So I'm now going to entitle myself to it. I'll hit free, and it will acquire it, and we'll take a look. Hey, it's looking good. And if you look up here in my Creative Cloud application, it will begin to sync this add-on with my Bridge application. So if we give it a moment or two, it should pop up and tell me that that's happened. Once the panel installs, you may have to restart the Bridge. So let's go do that. Now, under the Window menu, you should see Extensions and AEM Tags panel. Pop that open, and you'll see it loads. It says, hey, go ahead and log into your AEM instance. I happen to have an AEM instance running right now on my computer on localhost. It's probably the case that you will have an AEM instance located somewhere else. So whatever the URL is that you use to log into that AEM instance, you'll want to enter that here in the server URL. Now I've already logged in, so it's remembering that. And you can see that I have a number of namespaces listed here. Now remember, in the AEM world, the top level sort in the tags is called namespaces. And I went to Disney. So what I'd like to do is to load up some of these Disney tags. So we'll get some characters, and then maybe we'll put in some geographic names and so on. I've created these earlier, and we'll say generate panel. What this is going to do is to create a new XML file and put it into that folder where the custom keywords panels go. So if we take a look at that, just give us a second. Look at this. There's a brand new XML file there that was written by this AEM tags panel. If I go over and take a look at it, you'll see that it has written for me, without all the comments, all of the pieces and parts that I need to be able to recognize and display that metadata in my desktop application in the Bridge. Switch back over here, and we will now turn on that panel, and in order to do it, we've got to close the window and create a new window. We've seen this mechanism before. This little red bar is a extension issue and not a big deal. So we've got it all taken care of. Oh, look, I've got my notice now. It's telling me that something's going on. I don't need to know about that. All right, so back over to the Bridge. You can see I'm going to right click, and you'll see AEM Tags Panel. That's new. It just went in just now, and that was created by the AEM, this AEM Tags Panel over here. So you can see that over there, right? We'll log back in, check it out, and we'll compare. So here's some Disney characters at the top level. We saw that before. Here's some geographic names. Here's some parks. The ones I care about right now are really the parks and some folks. So I can see that I was in Florida, so I can select all of this. Maybe we have geographic names as well. I don't see Florida there, so we're going to forget about that. I need to go and edit my tags in AEM. Some of these were taken in Epcot. So this was in Epcot. This one was not Epcot. Let's see, that was definitely Epcot, right? And then we'll go and attach Epcot. And then I've got the Animal Kingdom is right here. We'll put that on for Animal Kingdom. This was also Animal Kingdom, so we'll pop that on for Animal Kingdom. And then we've got the remainder are in the Magic Kingdom. So we'll go and select those. These are all in the Magic Kingdom. That's very cool. All right, I'm not going to go any further with this. We can see all of this metadata has been applied. Another thing that I can do is to create a a metadata template from this. So if I select this image right here, which contains Magic Kingdom, I could go to create a metadata template tool, create metadata template, and you'll see it listed right there under AEM tags, right? So this is going to allow me to create a metadata template with Magic Kingdom, and then at any time I can go and apply that metadata. I can apply multiple tags and it would do that as well, same as we do for any other metadata template. So this is a really powerful way to interact with that metadata as well. Well, let's see what happens when we move this to AEM. I'm going to now just copy these images. All right, and we're going to go and take a look at AEM. I've got it mounted on my desktop as a folder. So if I open up DAM, what we're going to do is make a new folder, and we'll call it James Trip. Okay, I should probably call it Trip, is what it is. And I'll crack it open, and I'd like to move all these things over to AEM. So I'll just paste all these images in here, and what will happen is the AEM desktop tool is going to copy them up to AEM, and that happens in the background using this AEM desktop tool. So if I open up the queue, it's going to show me that things are queued, and momentarily it will start to write them up into AEM, which is also pretty awesome. Because the assets already have the oh, there we go. It's working now. All done. Because the assets already have the tags applied, when these assets appear in AEM, I'll see those tags when I look at the assets in the repository. I could upload these assets using my, let me go new, we'll go to localhost. I could open up the AEM folder and I could upload them using the desktop tool. I could also drag and drop them into this window. It doesn't really matter how I get to it. It's just that information is going to be ingested and retained. Log in, do not save my password, thank you very much. And we'll look at my assets. We'll go to assets, look at my files, and of course we have this new folder called James Trip, and it is there's all those pictures, right? So we'll pick one. How about this one? Remember, this one was in Epcot. If I select it and I look at its properties, we'll see that in fact it has been, it knows that it's gone to Epcot. Pretty cool. So think about a photography workflow where you would be collecting hundreds, maybe thousands of images all at one time. You want to tag them before they get into the repository. You've got your keywords. If you're using Adobe Sensei, maybe you have smart keywords that have been applied. That's awesome. But you also want to make sure that the images are compliant with the corporate taxonomy. And so AEM tags can do that leveraging the custom keywords infrastructure. Now, just to prove that this is two-way, what I'd like to do is to apply some additional tags to this. So we'll say Disney, geographic names. Whoops, well, all right, that's fine. We'll just do that. We'll go and look at it in the languages. I don't think I brought that down, so we have to stick to stuff that we've already installed. So we'll go to Disney Parks. Maybe we'll also say that this is in California Adventure, which it isn't, I know that, but I just want to see the tag applied. So I've got some additional tags that are applied. We'll say save and close. So there they are. Fiesta Ahoy, there it is. Now, what will happen is that the asset is going to flow back eventually. It will flow back to my desktop, and then I should see that change take place in Bridge. If I go back over here and wait long enough, that will sync down, and then we should be able to see that change show up in Bridge. All right, looks like that's updated. If we select it, we can see that we've got Disney geographic names at the top level checked. Scroll down, you can see Disney California Adventure and Epcot. Pretty cool. So using the AEM tags panel, which allows us to generate a custom keywords panel for AEM tags, we can now take our enterprise taxonomy that's managed in AEM, we can cut it down to a manageable size and get that out to end users so that they can begin to apply and understand and see and apply metadata from AEM outside of AEM or even inside of AEM. It doesn't really matter. I can also take this tags panel, I can export it to the XML file, and I could maybe send it to a photography partner who's sending me assets on a regular basis. have them install that in Bridge and ask them to apply metadata there, AEM tags metadata, so that they'll do all of their normal keywords work that they already do, as well as AEM tags. When those come to me or come back into the enterprise and we dump them into AEM, they'll already have those tags, and that will help alleviate some of the stress on the taxonomist in the enterprise. We hope that you'll take advantage of these tools, both the custom keywords panel, we're really excited about that infrastructure, but also the AEM tags panel for those of you who are using AEM and want to make a tighter binding between the asset repository and the end users who are using Bridge. Thank you.